Topsy-turvy and unpredictable flyway tour continued here today in Malaysia as he streaked away from the front of the pack, hotly pursued by Alex Marquez and Pedro Acosta on the factory KTM. Fermin Aldeguer, who started the sprint in 6th place, his charge towards the podium helped by Dran Mears exit when the Honda Star was 4. Bagnaia, though, coming over the line to win the sprint by over 2 seconds. Another 2nd place, secures 2nd overall in the championship for the brilliant Alex Marquez. I mean, Aldeguer was 3rd over the line, but a tyre pressure penalty came his way post-sprint, which promoted Pedro Acosta inside the top 3. Well, having started our overseas tour in Japan a few weeks ago, same weekend that his teammate Marc Marquez was crowned MotoGP World Champion, Echo Bagnaia in Motegi was untouchable, wasn't he? Absolutely on a different level, as he took pole position, as he took a sprint win, and as he then took a Grand Prix victory. Well, he's on course for another treble here today in Malaysia. Probably we should quote over what's happened to Bagnaia in between those 2 brilliant weekends in Mandalika and Australia, where, frankly, by his own admission, it was embarrassing. It was abysmal by the exceptionally high standards of the factory Ducati start. Bagnaia then will once again fire away from pole position. 28-year-old Italian's 27th pole position in the MotoGP World Championship. 20 laps will be coming your way in just over half an hour's time here in the hottest conditions of the weekend. Muggy Malaysia, it's scorching hot Malaysia, no question about that, as ambient temperature's not going to be far shy of 35 degrees by the time this lights out for this round 20 over 20 laps. In the company of Matt Burton, Lewis Sotheby in the commentary box with Jack Appleyard down in pit lane. Malaysian fans once again out in force to roar on their MotoGP heroes. Hero of race day 20 be once again Bagnaia, already a double Sepang winner in the top class, including of course his victory in what was arguably the best race of 2024. Certainly the first few laps of that epic battle he had with title rival Jorge Martin, a race winner here also back in 2022. That was Bagnaia. Fierce competition though will be posed by a couple of other strong Ducatis. Alex Marquez with the shackles off, having secured 2nd place in the championship, and Alex finding his way to the top 7 of the podium. The 3rd time in his MotoGP win. What about Fermin Aldeguer? Well, he's already won in baking hot conditions on this overseas sweep, hasn't he? And Mandalika a few weeks ago to become the 2nd youngest rider in Premier Class history. In these scorching hot conditions, who will go for the soft rear tyre? Will anybody gamble on the soft rear? Who will go for the medium rear? Well, Jack's got some tyre information before the riders leave pit lane. Jack, what are the riders thinking?
Quite remarkably, as things stand, it looks like the vast majority of the grid are going to go for the soft rear tyre, which Piero Taramasso said to us earlier on. In those final 2 or 3 laps of the Grand Prix, they expect them to be at 100%, maybe 110% consumption of the tyre. Piero saying none of the teams want to give up that early time at the start of the race where there is a clear deficiency with the medium rear tyre. They would much rather have the soft and just try and manage it to the end. If everybody does go to the soft, it looks like the vast majority going to the grid with it. It's going to make a fascinating race.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. It certainly will make it a little bit more tastier. Some spice added then to this Malaysian Grand Prix. If the majority pick are going for the software, this will be, without question, a time management race. So many riders, of course, in the sprint yesterday when they were able to push and attack harder over the shorter 10-lap format. In the 10 laps, several riders reporting significant big drops with the soft rear tyre. Juicy for us, no question.
Certainly does. What we saw on Friday was in much cooler track conditions because we had a lot of cloud cover. Track temperature was probably around 20 degrees cooler than it is for the Grand Prix this afternoon. Medium tyre just would not work. They just couldn't get it fired up and actually exploit the grip from it. So everyone went across to the soft. What that's then meant is that even though maybe the conditions today are better for the medium, a lot of riders have barely ran it at any stage in the weekend and don't have the information on it. And as Jack rightly pointed out, potential time loss and position loss early in the race could negate any benefit that you get from the medium later on. Just take Marco Bezzecchi, for instance, back in Australia. Of course, it wasn't down to tyres, but he did find himself in traffic after 2 long lap penalties and didn't ultimately make that time back up. This is the story of Alex Marquez's sprint yesterday. A sprint he admitted he was rather nervous in, with so much on the line. Even if second place in the championship has felt like a formality for Alex for a few races now. Eventually won that battle with Pedro Acosta, who fell behind Fermin Aldeguer before regaining that third place due to a tyre pressure penalty. He never had anything really for Pecco Bagnaia, but that wasn't really Alex Marquez's priority. He was all about securing the points he needed to take second place in the championship, and with Pecco Bagnaia winning the sprint, second was enough.
Sepang Madrid connection. Thankfully, some good Wi-Fi in this part of Malaysia to allow Marc Marquez to pass on his immediate congratulations to his brother Alex. What a story, what a journey it has been for those two for so many years. A journey that has taken them to the top two in the MotoGP World Championship. We grew up together, we had fun together, we worked together, we suffered together, and this year we won together. There's nothing that those two have not seen throughout their Grand Prix careers, and what an accolade it is. Alex then securing second place in the standings, fourth in the Grand Prix here last year from the front row. We'll be hoping to go at least one better over 20 laps this afternoon. And Fermin Aldeguer, well, there's no question. We know how good he is at managing fading grip in scorching hot conditions. Just look what he did, destroyed the field, didn't he, in that recent Indonesian Grand Prix. And there are a lot of people deep inside that Gresini Ducati camp who think Aldeguer's got a great crack at win number 2 here in Malaysia.
You're going to have to be careful early on, as Dranmey wasn't as confirmation of the penalty he received yesterday, which did from third down to 7. Likely the fastest rider on track at the end of the sprint, which over double the distance this afternoon will certainly bode well for him. Of course, the new livery you might be able to spot for the Gresini duo. See the slightly darker shade of blue on the leathers of Fermin Aldeguer. It's also a darker blue motorcycle, but still very easy to pick the Gresini duo apart. And you feel those 3 riders in the front of picture, Bagnaia, Alex Marquez and Fermin Aldeguer, in all probability the winner is going to come from one of those 3.
Rookie of the year, and celebrating was Rookie of the... Yeah, come on, nice one, Fermin Aldeguer. That bronze medal eventually was going to be stripped from around his neck and placed in the hands of Pedro Acosta. But it has been a stellar campaign from Aldeguer. He has delivered on all the promise and potential which Ducati saw in him at pre-2024 Moto2. At times, it's fair to say, this weekend, not looking particularly over-enamoured with his Sepang experience in 2025. It's been Fabio Quartararo. He's certainly not lacking support, as we can see that fan in the grandstands going absolutely hotty for Fabio. He's got a smile. Finally, he breaks a smile on his face. Quartararo then. 6 he was in the Grand Prix here last year, which remarkably was the only top 6 for a Japanese bike in the whole of 20. Well, he's got a marriage proposal as well. We'll find out. Maybe we'll ask him after this 20 lap Grand Prix.
Give a thumbs up. So maybe she got the answer she was looking for. Fabio Quartararo, will he be one of those going for the soft rear tyre, which we understand could well be for the majority of this field? Pit lane is now open. The next 5 minutes as they head round through the grid. 20 laps of action coming up. If you're just joining us for this MotoGP Grand Prix, there was a substantial delay earlier on in Moto3 due to a serious accident on the sighting lap involving Noah Decavilla and Jose Antonio Ueda, which means we are yet to see the Moto2 battle. That will follow MotoGP at 4:30 local time.
Plenty of Bez fans out in force here in Sepang, including one of them who's got the absolutely awesomely named Bez Lightyear. Love that. Superb. This was the move that Bez made on what was an excellent recovery, actually. 14th on the grid to 7th on the road. Pushed up inside the top 6 after the Aldeguer penalty. Did a lot of work for that 7th place, didn't he? Moves on Zarco, moves on Digia, moves on Marini, moves that are not easy to make in one day MotoGP. Ultimately, Luca Marini later on in the sprint was to suffer his first DNF of 2025, his first crash, believe it or not, of 2025 as well. Pol Espargaro, another victim of the that second charge through the pack, as with the ice vest on, trying to keep himself cool at the end of that sprint yesterday. He's going to go double the distance over 20 laps this afternoon. So then, we believe, as Jack told us, having spoken to insiders, that the majority of the riders are going to take the punt. They're going to go for the gamble. They're going to try and make that soft go the distance over 20 laps. And we will make the Grand Prix interesting, won't it? Pedro Acosta then. promoted to third in yesterday's sprint, once again by far the leading light for KTM. Can you repeat that podium in the Grand Prix here this afternoon? We've got the boss, Aki Ayo, who joins Joe.
Yeah, I've got Aki with me in the back of the KTM box. Aki, I understand the vast majority of the field are maybe looking at using the soft rear tyre. What are KTM thinking?
At the moment, seems like our plan is to go with the same tires as yesterday. But of course, you know, many times the final decision come on the grid. But I really feel that majority on the grid is with the soft one today. It's a bit more mixed.
We saw yesterday, even in the sprints, there was an obvious drop for Pedro. He's had his tyre troubles over recent weeks. For those on the KTM, how much of a risk is it to go for the soft? Do you think you can get it to the end of the race?
Yeah, I think everyone, all the manufacturers has tested, let's say, medium also this weekend, and still after testing, seems like majority is soft. So sometimes the difference is smaller, sometimes bigger. So for sure, it's really a race to manage.
The result, is it a bit of a race of survival of Pedro?
For sure, I believe for everyone, of course, here in these conditions, it's a little bit with this, let's say, compounds what is available. It's the race for survival, but of course, long race is always a little bit different story as a sprint, and of course, you need to prepare and manage in different ways.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks to Aki Ayo. A tyre management mission on the way then in Malaysia, coming up for 23 riders. Just a bit of housekeeping if you're joining us the first time this weekend. No Marc Marquez, replacement came by Mikel Piro. No Jorge Martin, sadly, ongoing with that shoulder injury he suffered in Mategi. He's replaced by Lorenzo Salvadorian. Espargaro back once again, replacing Maverick Vinales. And Augusto Fernandez, a Yamaha wildcard, getting in more key development on the new V4 powered YZR M1.
Into tyre management race in light of KTM, because managing tyres is something they manage with great difficulty. And it's going to play into their hands that others will also be on that soft tyre, whether they're in further trouble. Well, we'll have to wait and see. Pedro Acosta going from 5th on the Great Espargaro 12th. And Bastianini's in 19th, one place behind Brad Binder. As Pecco Bagnaia falls to his customary pole position. I think we've given up trying to predict or work out what Pecco Bagnaia is going to do from one weekend to the next. But the last time he took pole position and won the sprint, he did then back that up with Grand Prix victory. It's a third consecutive Sepang pole for Pecco, and he backed that up with a third Sepang MotoGP win.
He's had 5 pole sprint win and Grand Prix win trebles previously in his career. That was set certainly to at least fight for that 6. Let's go down onto the grid then. Congratulations once again to our 2025 Rookie of the Year, Fermin Aldeguer, on the second row with Jack.
Yeah, Fermin was fantastic yesterday, of course, on the sprint podium, but unfortunately that penalty cost him. Fermin, this looks like it's going to be a real race of survival with everybody on the soft rear tyre. How do you feel ahead of it?
For sure. The key of the race will be the management of the rear tyre. The last part is very difficult and much slower than the first lap. But this is one of our stronger points to try to manage in the best way as possible, and after finish as soon as possible, because it's an incredible weekend. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much to Fermin Aldeguer. Congratulations once again to him for an incredible year, which was crowned Rookie of the Year yesterday. We just saw the grid graphic there with the tyre choices. The only anomaly on the front row of the grid was Alex Marquez and the Grazini Ducati. He clearly was on the soft front, soft rear tyre. Pecco Bagnaia from Poland, Frankie Mordelli third, either side of the Spaniard. As it stands right now, that could change, of course. The 2 Italians, medium front, soft rear.
Yeah, the majority are soft. We've got Alex Rins, who's also medium front, Luca Marini and Ralph Fernandez on the medium front. So too is Miguel Oliveira and Lorenzo Salvadori further back. So the vast majority of the field are going for essentially the same tyre combination that they ran in the sprint yesterday.
See a worn front coming out of Frankie Mordelli on the sighting lap there. now be changed over to what we expect to be then a brand new medium front tyre for Morbidelli. Just the second front row of the year for the 30-year-old Italian, who has very happy memories of Sepang, a Moto2 World Champion crowned here. So too, of course, was Alex Marquez in 2019, and so too was this rider on screen, who celebrated one of his Moto2 successes here in Sepang, and he did it in spectacular fashion with a double backflip with his brother years ago, back in 2016. Loving you 46. Well, it is, of course, we can't really go through the race day programme here in Sepang without mentioning that race, that Grand Prix 2015 Sepang clash, one of the biggest clashes of personalities, talents and egos we've ever seen. Valentino Rossi versus Marc Marquez, all the way back in 2015 in what proved to be a very controversial and pivotal Malaysian Grand Prix a decade ago.
Tyre's been brought to the grid too for Johan Zarco. Given that you're going to need all the rub you can get through this 20-lap Grand Prix, everyone, of course, taking the old, worn tyres to the grid. Well, old tyres is Bastianini's forte, really, as he sits in some much-needed shade just underneath us in the grandstand. Bastianini 19th on the grid, but just runs back to Australia. He qualified 20th and was in top 10 at the end of both the sprint and the Grand Prix. He came across the line yesterday in the final points position.
Feels like this is a tailor-made Grand Prix for Bastianini. He's not known as the MotoGP tyre whisperer for nothing, isn't he? Whether it was on the Ducati back in the day or on the current KTM, it still does seem to be the master of still being able to get a lot of performance and speed out of a rapidly deteriorating rear tyre. So too, of course, Fermin Aldeguer falls back into that category. Well, Alex Marquez was the only outlier on that front row grid in terms of the front tyre choice. He was going soft. I wonder if that might have changed. Jack, back down to you.
Yeah, that's the least of his concerns right now. You might have heard in the back of shot, very, very rarely does a MotoGP bike get started on the grid. Normally, it only does if there's some kind of problem, and it seems to be there's a slight electronic issue potentially with Alex Marquez's crew. There's a couple of official Ducati personnel coming over and taking a look at the laptop. There doesn't seem to be too much frantic work. They are putting the brand new tyres into this one as things stand, but I'll stay with this and just try and work out exactly what's happening, because there's something out of the ordinary going on right now.
Yeah, thanks very much, Jack. High stress situations anyway, aren't they, when everything's running smoothly down on the grid. Last thing that Alex Marquez needs is he's about to power away from second here on the front row in Sepang.
Pressure is removed from Alex Marquez, of course having clinched the runner-up spot in the championship yesterday, but he would have wanted to, with the benefit of that pressure being removed, to just go for it today and challenge for victory. Of course, Alex Marquez has already taken a couple of Grand Prix victories this season, both on Spanish tarmac in Jerez and in Barcelona, and he would relish the opportunity to go head-to-head with Pecco Bagnaia from the front of the field today. Raul Fernandez, our most recent Grand Prix winner, Phillip Island winner 7 days ago. Feels like it's going to take something absolutely extraordinary for Raul Fernandez to go back-to-back this weekend. The Aprilia not just gelling with this Sepang circuit, nor the rear tyre options we have here.
Fernandez, 76th start in Phillip Island. It's the 7th longest wait in history for a first MotoGP success. The latest Spa drove 200 starts. Danilo Petrucci, 124 starts. Johan Zarco on this current grid, 120 starts. Cal Crutchlow, 98 starts. Alex Marquez on the front row, 94 starts. And Jack Finley, 92 starts. The only riders that took longer in Grand Prix history to find their first MotoGP success. Bezzecchi, medium front tyre.
Yeah, since they initially made his choice, or the choice was communicated to on the main straight, which is why you could hear a massive roar. What smoke enveloping us outside our Coventry box window. That is the aerial show, providing the aerial entertainment before the best motorcycle racers in the world begin to produce some fireworks over 20 laps in just under a quarter of an hour.
Well, we're sat about a mile and a half, 2 miles maximum from the nearby Kuala Lumpur International Airport. A lot of the paddock flying home this evening, including my good self, but I hope it's on a rather bigger plane than that one that's currently hovering overhead here in Malaysia. Marco Bezzecchi has to factor in, doesn't he? He has to factor in Bettesecchi, 14th on the grid. So many riders yesterday. What was a pretty intense and heated battle for the bottom end of the pointsman place in the sprint. We're reporting big issues with a ballooning front tyre temperature and a ballooning front tyre pressure as well. If you get mired mid-pack here, you're going to be in a whole world of pain managing that front tyre. Alex Spargo, good to see him back, supporting, of course, his brother Paul, who's doing such another sterling job replacing the injured Maverick Vinales. Lace is not here as a tourist, he's not here as a holiday maker. Well, he might be today, and not just supporting his brother, but he has got some busy work next week. He once again throws his leg over the 2026 prototype Honda RC213V. And a lot of his 2025 already so far here in Sepang has Aleix.
Mentioned the difficulty that riders have when they're in. Really hitting then, but their front tyre. That's part of the reason why Paco Bagnaia and Jorge Martin were so busy back track. Let's get an update from the grid. Is all okay with Alex Marquez's Ducati? Michele Massini's with Jack.
Yeah, it does seem everything's okay. Michele, just confirm everything okay with Alex's bike?
Yeah, at the moment I confirm that the Alex bike is okay.
Great to hear. For both riders, this is obviously going to be all about tyre management, trying to get that rear tyre to the end. Looks as though Alex with the soft front, is that the case still?
Yeah, I hope that we take the right choice for the race, and we'll see if we can manage well the last 8-9 laps.
Okay, good luck.
See, the good news is that as far as Alex Marquez is concerned, the sort of tech gremlin concerns they had pre-race, they seem to have evaporated in the sort of sizzling hot conditions. A little bit of a tweak in his neck with Alex after a pretty heavy crash in FP1 on Friday morning at turn 7. Be a pain in the neck for Paco Bagnaia's hopes of another Sepang success here this afternoon.
As riders unite on their way to the front of the grid for the national anthem, which is coming up in a couple of minutes' time. Paulo Spargo and Michele Pirro, you saw there. Michele Pirro in for Marc Marquez, of course. Now, there is a test being scheduled sometime between now and Portimao in Jerez, involving the World Superbike Championship runner-up Nicolo Bulega, which could potentially lead to Bulega appearing at the final couple of Grand Prix of the season. So this may yet be the last time we see Pirro in a Grand Prix this season.
Well, with just having a chat with our British TV colleagues down in what is going to be scorching hot pit lane. Fabio Gian Antonio keep himself as cool as possible before what are going to be 20 of the toughest laps of 2025 coming your way. Marquez, that's a bad tactic, is it? Grab an umbrella and just keep yourself as shaded as you possibly can. Now, well, he's had his trials and tribulations so far this weekend. A crash in Q1 at turn 4. A lap time when he was fastest in Q1, which would have put him on the front row of the grid in Q2. And then, of course, after that crash at turn 4 in Q1, he crashed the Ducati at the back of the garage in what was a pretty eventful 10 minutes or so to complete that opening qualifying session. The riders then come to the front of the grid. Traditional three-way ceremony. The stunt pilot working wonders throughout this weekend on the grid as fans, young and old, enjoying all the pre-race atmosphere. Not be doing too many of those spins. You'll be very, very dizzy by the time that you stop. One of the MotoGP rivals in a spin from pole position will be Paco Bagnaia shortly. You can see that magnificent hour of champions on the right-hand side of your picture. Marc Marquez, of course, adding his name to that magnificent trophy. Just a few weeks ago at the Mobility Resort over in Motegi. Sadly sidelined and ruled out through that shoulder injury suffered in Mandalika until 2026. Oh, as the riders big shade on the grid, they're going to take a pause here in the commentary box to await the Malaysian national anthem.
Ladies and gentlemen. Ya Tuhan kurniakan Raja kita selamat berkata.
Brilliant. Beautiful. Lovely rendition of the Malaysian national anthem by Ahmad Dayan Saiful Anwar. As then the countdown to our 20th chapter in 2025 well and truly underway. Certainly bring the passion, don't they, the Malaysian fans? This is classic, iconic Grand Prix venue, isn't it? I think it's all the way back in 1999 now since we first came racing here at the Sepang International Circuit. 15 times. It's a great venue. There's been world champions crowned, including that right on your screens back in 2018 when Peko Bagnaia prevailed in the Moto2 world title chase. Fabio Quartararo, can he put the factory Yamaha into contention for the top 5 maybe in this Sepang Grand Prix? Let's get the thoughts of the boss, Mario Meregali, who did Jack.
Maya, with everybody having to manage the tyres in the opening part of this race, could that make it an opportunity for you guys?
For us, it's going to be a really tough race for everybody because, as you can imagine, already these conditions are not helpful for them, and they have to manage the situation with their soft tires. They will make their life even harder, and it's not also a question to manage the tire at the beginning of the race because there is a risk that you have to try to manage the tire from the beginning to the end, and we expect that at the end, however, the tire will be finished.
Good luck. Hope it's a good one, Ford.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much, Jack. Thanks to Yamaha boss Mario Meregali. To the finish with what's probably going to be a finished set of tyres. Quartararo coming as much as possible to jump on his White Star M1 machine. Still in the welcome shade that is being offered by the main grandstand, one of 2 main grandstands here in Sepang that flank the 2 long straights. Marquez then, 3 race dramas aside. In the MotoGP Grand Prix for the first time outside of home turf. Won a sprint here before in Malaysia, did so back in 2023. When he stopped Bagnaia from completing, well, starting and finishing this overseas tour with a treble. It's really hard to imagine, isn't it? I mean, we said yesterday in comedy, the curious case of Peko Bagnaia. It was 8 days ago at Phillip Island in Australia where he crossed the line in a sprint 32 seconds behind Marco Bezzecchi. That followed a sprint in Mandalika where he was 29 seconds behind Bez and then crashed out of lap in the Grand Prix. Talk about a roller coaster 4 rounds for the Italian.
He's good, he's almost unbeatable, but when he's not, he is beaten by just about everybody on track. It appears we've got the best of Peko Bagnaia here this weekend, but he's well aware, as we are, that this is not going to be an easy 20 laps of action for him. Certainly, the start, the first couple of laps are going to be all important to maintain that track position. As mentioned a moment ago, that battle between Bagnaia and Martin last year was so aggressive, partly because they were fighting for a world championship, but also because they wanted that track position. They didn't want a rider ahead of them, putting hot air on their front tyre and making their pressure go through that roof.
It's going to be a big consideration. It will be a big factor at play in this Grand Prix. Fans braving it in the blazing sunshine at the moment. So used rear tyre that Peko Bagnaia would have used to have come to this grid here. It's a bang. Winner already in MotoGP 31 times. The level, of course, for Danny Pedrosa and Eddie Lawson. There's now only 7 riders in MotoGP history that have won more Grand Prix. And Peko are some of the great and good, aren't they, of MotoGP? Giacomo Agostini, Valentino Rossi, Marc Marquez, Mick Doohan, Lorenzo, Casey Stoner and Mike Haywood. Jumped ahead of Danny Pedrosa and Eddie Lawson in the all-time winners list. Alex Marquez and Fermin Aldeguer will have a big part to say. Proceedings coming up in a couple of minutes' time as the grid then starts to clear on the front row for just the second time in 2025. It's Frankie Morbidelli, a Moto2 world champion, crowned right here back in 2017. Points in all 5 in his MotoGP career, having secured second in the World Championship yesterday in the sprint. Alex Marquez goes from second on the grid, but it's Pecco Bagnaia looking to complete yet another dominant double. He do the business from pole here in Sepang. It's been an intense 5 weeks. It has been an intense 4 rounds of MotoGP action up on our overseas tour. There has been some big highs. Marc Marquez, crowned world champion in Japan. Aldeguer and Mandalika becoming the second youngest rider in Premier Class history to win a Grand Prix. Raul Fernandez becoming another new first-time winner. 2025, our 7th different winner so far this season. Massive loud and clear from Michelin Motorsport boss Piero Cadamasso. Soft rear tyre choice, well, you're going to have to manage it big time. That Grand Prix of Malaysia, which sees Pecco Bagnaia lead the field away from pole position. Yesterday in the sprint, nobody saw which way the 63 went as he secured a 13th medal. The Gian Antonio suffered a bit in the sprint yesterday, missing out. Point scoring place in 10th spot. It's again Bagnaia happy just to be at walking speed going through the first corner to the grid as late as possible. With the pressure of securing second place lifted off the shoulders of Alex Marquez. That's fully unleashed. Let's decide just to go for broke in this 20-lap battle before we head back to Europe for the season-ending Valencia. Fabio Quartararo has spoken incessantly throughout this weekend of how much he suffered with a lack of rear grip, in particular on that factory Yamaha around this Sepang circuit. At all is he certainly by these hot conditions, without any question. It's been the clearest sky we've had so far this weekend, which means it is really hot. 25 degrees the ambient temperature will be at the moment. The warm-up lap underway. Warm conditions. Belly then on the front row of the grid for Portimina Enduro VR46. 11 Grand Prix. Frankie, a couple of years ago in 2023, made his 100th MotoGP start and finishing 7th place. So he has been here before. 2022 Sepang winner Pecco Bagnaia, 2024 Sepang winner Pecco Bagnaia. Those laps he had with Jorge Martini, sadly still missing the hit in Sepang. Shy of 200,000 fans, thank you for your support as always to Sepang to watch this conclusion by away tour. Now to get already job done. One of his big missions pre-season was to try and win the Rookie of the Year title. Well, it's in the pocket. That's business done as far as Aldeguer is concerned. Know how strong Aldeguer comes late on in these Grand Prix. We then from that second row, the second row which features Quartararo, Acosta and the Spaniard, youngest rider in Premier Class history to win on this Asia Oceania Tour. Full throttle though, isn't it now? Lights out, we're racing in MotoGP here then in Malaysia. Once again, he's nailed the start of pole position as he's 63 by Bagnaia. Look at Pedro Acosta once again, capitalising on that missile. KTM, he gets the drop from Alex Marquez and the run down into the first corner. Bagnaia leads and Acosta from the second row immediately up into second place. Aldeguer is trying to tough it out here with Quartararo going down the hill into turn 2. Aldeguer, Quartararo's had a really good start. He's from the second row up into fourth as well.
Quartararo wasn't letting him have it. He holds on to fourth place. Morbidelli is the big loser. And Alex Marquez, if he wants to go after Pecco Bagnaia, needs to pass Acosta quickly.
Yeah, he has done. He picks up Acosta and runs Acosta out to the paintwork on the outside of turn 4. So Alex getting very aggressive early on here, through on Acosta in that fourth corner.
The Hondas have already swapped around. Marini's up to 7. We saw Mir getting pushed way wide through turn 3. There is Mir up behind the Biarpo Scatti. He has now repassed Marini. They're 7th and 8th.
Poor start for Bezzecchi. A lot of work to do coming from 14th on the up into 17th. Poor start for some of the Aprilias. Fernandez back in 18th. Bezzecchi's trying to work his way forward now up into P14.
And Alex Marquez has jumped right onto the rear tyre of Pecco Bagnaia. Whether this is Bagnaia being a bit cautious with his rear tyre early on, or whether Bagnaia is mapping a little bit of front-end confidence, Alex Marquez has caught it very quickly, back sideways, out of control on the way into turn 15, but he just about gets that Ducati stopped.
Yeah, Alex was begging, wasn't he? Please, please, please stop Gresini Ducati on that run down into turn 14. Over the line we go as Marini's up inside the top 10. Bagnaia from Alex Marquez. Acosta trying to pick up some slipstream here, trying to outdrag Alex on the brakes into the first corner. Not close enough.
What might be happening with Bagnaia is he's now the only rider. Timing screens are now giving us up-to-date time information. Bagnaia is the only rider in the top 8 who's on that medium front tyre. Everyone else behind him is on the soft front.
Down the order, we've got Brad Binder in 11th. He's done a good start up 7 places on lap 1. In fact, nobody made bigger gains than Binder on the factory KTM. From 18th up into 11th as Alex Marquez goes up the inside. Bagnaia, well, he was aggressive, wasn't he, on the first lap at turn 4 on Acosta. He's played the same move through on Alex. Got into the tighter line there, through 5 goes Bagnaia, but it's Alex Marquez that leads.
Bagnaia wanted to try the Jorge Martin move from last year, didn't he, into turn 5, couldn't get it done. So has Bagnaia just got to be a little bit patient while his front tyre comes into the right operating temperature here, because Acosta's now attacking him for second place.
Yeah, it doesn't look like at the moment he's got the early pace, does he? Pecco Bagnaia on that medium front tyre. Acosta's going to dart to the inside line here, trying to go through on the double world champion into 9th. No weight through. Bagnaia will have certainly better braking stability. How many times have we seen Mir out of shape on that factory Honda going into turn 9, where he perished in the sprint yesterday? Morbidelli's trying to cut the inside line going through turn 11. No way through. Further back, we've got Zarco in 8th place, Marini 9th. The top 10 round now by the Gian Antonio.
Yeah, how many times have we seen Mir and Morbidelli already overtake each other? It's like Morbidelli and Quartararo yesterday. So once again, Acosta buzzing all over the rear tyre of Bagnaia's Ducati as the front end momentarily tucks there for Pecco Bagnaia. He's not got the support he wants at the moment from that medium front.
Perfect time to ride on board with Acosta there. Big moment, wasn't it? For Bagnaia on that medium front tyre. We're going to stay on board now as Acosta almost runs into the backers further down the field. That's Aldeguer versus Mir. That's some fight between the two Spaniards at the moment. It's in the hands of Mir. He's going to be powerless now, isn't he? They go side by side. Aldeguer versus Mir. He's going to be winning the game there on the brakes. Aldeguer's got the inside line. This is a battle for 5th. Mir goes around the outside. They almost take each other out on that run down into the first corner. Saying thank you very much goes Morbidelli now up into P6.
Yeah, this is crucial time that Aldeguer is losing. We think he's got the pace to potentially win this race and fight later on. As Alex Marquez darts up into the distance, once again Bagnaia is fighting a rearguard action against the KTM of Acosta.
He's got nothing in the braking zone, has he, at all? At the moment, that medium front tyre is not working out for Bagnaia at all. Alex Marquez passed him going into 4, but that's brilliant by Bagnaia on the inside of Acosta going through 5. You can almost hear the crowd singing themselves hoarse in the main grandstand here. Some battle is between Bagnaia and Acosta, but it's playing into hands, isn't it? This is perfect for Alex at the front of this Grand Prix.
Well, Bagnaia knows how hard Acosta is to overtake, so he doesn't want to have to overtake him at any stage. So he's defending for all he's worth at the moment, is Bagnaia. But Alex Marquez is already the thick end of a second up the road.
At least we can see on the onboard from Acosta, as Acosta does take the inside line going into turn 9. That's a lovely move. Is he going to be a little bit hot? Bagnaia will try and sweep around the outside, and does so as they go through the onboard from Acosta there. We could clearly see he wasn't working the sprint yesterday. The rear eye light device of Bagnaia's GP25 is fully functioning in this Grand Prix.
He was certainly fast even without it yesterday. Maybe he wishes he didn't have it again at the moment. We ride on board with him with the Costa through 12. Now the two right hands are 13 and 14. And we know how strong that KTM is in a straight line. He'll follow Bagnaia now and try and tack him once again into the final corner.
Pedro, a pest here for Pecco, isn't he? Bagnaia just cannot break away from the 37 KTM behind him. Alex Marquez at the moment is almost a second clear of Bagnaia. He started this lap at less than 4 tenths clear. Alex has gained half a second alone on this lap ahead of Bagnaia. He's having to work so hard. He's having to dig really deep here with the fend off Costa. Only long ago, Alex Marquez was indeed half a second quicker than Bagnaia on lap 3.
As was Joan Mir on the Honda. He's now zooming up behind Quartararo's Yamaha, and if he can pass him, he might join this battle for second place here. Bagnaia's just got to try and stick with this and just hope that that medium front tyre comes into its working temperature, begins to bite this Sepang circuit, and he'll come into play later on in the race. But of course, if more riders pass him, he's not going to be able to make that time back up in the latter stages.
Much as having to work the rear tyre at the moment just to fend off Acosta. Acosta is just glued to the rear tyre of Bagnaia. This time around, he's not able to find a way through on the Italian. He made that move once before in this Grand Prix at turn 4. The gap between Quartararo and the Costa is creeping up towards a full second, and now charging towards Quartararo's factory Yamaha. Morbidelli, Mir about a second up the road. The KTM turns better with that soft rear tyre. He'll have the better edge grip, but he won't have the braking stability that Bagnaia's got with that medium front. That's just that sort of, you can just see the difference between the two on board as we're back on board now with Acosta going through turn 11. Between Alex and Bagnaia, it's sort of stabilised around 8-9 tenths of a second. As long as Bagnaia, you feel, can keep Acosta at bay, he's going to get A-OK here, because we know the KTM really does suffer. Out of all the bikes on the grid, the KTM, probably with the Yamaha close call, suffered the biggest rear tyre drop at the whole field.
It's now slowly starting to come to Pecco Bagnaia. He's not clearing off away from Acosta, but he's a smidge faster at the moment on this lap than Alex Marquez, who I guess dare not set too fast a pace out front, because he'll come in for some late pain in the latter stages. This is only lap 4 of 20, 1/5 race distance completed, so an awful long way for these tyres to go. Alex Marquez leads on a 1:59.3. Bagnaia with a personal best, he was 5 thousandths faster.
On board with Mir, attacking Quartararo's factory Yamaha. We know how late on the brakes Quartararo is, and he needed it down into that first corner. What a shot this is. Is Mir going to try and cut to the inside line, attack the Frenchman downhill into turn 2? Well, that was his plan, but Quartararo just too fast, too nimble on the agile M1 through the first sector. On board now with Mir, tyre shredding turn 3. This is where you really are going to have to manage it in the latter stages of the Grand Prix.
Personal best for the pair behind this too, Morbidelli and Aldeguer 6 and 7. 59.6 for Morbidelli. Only a 59.9 though for Aldeguer, so he's over half a second off the race. The second sector for Paul Espargaro, who is dropping down the order.
3 Hondas in the top 10. It's a frustrated Paul Espargaro, head in hands for the Spanish rider, who had contact with Luca Marini in the sprint yesterday. Zarco in 8th, Marini in 9th. 2 of the 3 Hondas then inside this top 10. There's another great battle raging between Zarco, Marini, the Gian Antonio, Binder, Paul Espargaro, and now out of it, of course, Bezzecchi wins. All of those riders in that intense battle. They're going to have to be worrying and managing that front tyre pressure and temperature, aren't they?
Well, that was the front end washer, which went a long way to the barrel chap, so potentially lost it all the way under braking. Paul Espargaro, so coming together with Marini yesterday, he scores no points in the Grand Prix either, unfortunately for Paul, who's had another quietly impressive weekend. As we watch once again from the aerial shot, and Acosta trying to tee up another run at Pecco Bagnaia from 14 up to 50.
Nothing between Bagnaia and Alex's lap times on this current lap. In fact, he's deviated by about 600ths of a second. They're matching each other corner by corner. They're going blow for blow here, aren't they? Alex is doing a great job here at the front of this Grand Prix. Acosta once again throws it in on the rear tyre of Bagnaia. Well, it's actually Acosta back close to Bagnaia. We're sort of concerned about his own front tyre temperature. He just sort of cuts to the right-hand side, maybe just getting some a bit of clear air. Over line we go then. Alex with a 1:59.3, Bagnaia with a 1:59.3, Acosta with a 1:59.3. At the moment, this top 3 are, as we can see on screen, in a race of their own. Fair play to Quartararo and Mia, they are the only other two riders in this Malaysian Grand Prix that are keeping themselves in the 159s, but they're 4/10, half a second back of the top trio.
We're not seeing a rampage through the field at the moment from Marco Bezzecchi like we saw in the sprint yesterday. He's back in 12th place, not even in the 59s. He did a 2:002 on the last lap. He is 7 seconds off the race lead. He is also on the medium front tyre. The only riders on the medium front ahead of Bezzecchi are Bagnaia and Luca Marini, who runs in P9.
He's going to get bragging rights back in Japan at the end of this Malaysian Grand Prix. Will it be in Yamaha or will it be in Honda? Well, this is the battle raging for 4th place. Here, has there been a corner throughout this Malaysian Grand Prix weekend where he's had both wheels in line on the last in 2-1-3, but he is certainly box office to watch, isn't he? All action is the 36, but we just know it's one thing to have caught Fabio Quartararo, another thing completely to try and pass the Yamaha star, who we know is so good, so confident, so much trust at the front end of that M1.
Looks like Bagnaia might be closing this down as they just file through the shot. We'll see through the first sector whether he is getting any closer to Alex Marquez as we watch the battle up behind them. It's still around 0.8 of a second. He's taking his 10th back that he lost in the second sector, back in the third sector. So Alex Marquez at the moment keeping Pecco Bagnaia at arm's length, but all of them will be a little bit cautious about pushing too hard this early in the race.
Yeah, got great corner speed through 14 there, and I was just thinking he's going to line this up. That was all set up because Mir was superb going through 14. Look at that, he's pushing the front, sliding the rear. He's almost in downtown Kuala Lumpur, buying himself a t-shirt in Chinatown at the moment, isn't he, Grand Mir? He was so good going through turn 14, made that move on Quartararo on the run down to 50, and then just got in that little bit hot, and now he's got to do all the hard work all over again.
Well, that's how hard you have to try and brake to break Fabio Quartararo. For all of the strengths that the 2021 World Champion has got, that is one of them. 2021 World Champion versus 2020 World Champion for 4th place. The 2022 and 23 champion is in the middle of this three-way fight for the lead.
We've seen precious little of Aldeguer at the front of this Grand Prix. He's been a bit underwhelming, a bit disappointing so far. He's going to be hoping some ahead of him have massive drop-offs with their rear tyres. Aldeguer in 6th place. He's 1.1 seconds actually behind Frankie Morbidelli. Zarco still inside the top 10 in 8th, and of Marini. Again, it's just a massive battle between Zarco, Marini, the Gian Antonio, Binder. Bez is right in the thick of it, so too Alex Rins. That's Giannini in 14th place. He's just 2 seconds behind Zarco in 8th. So that's Giannini could still salvage a top 10 from 19.
And here is Aldeguer, who's fallen away from Frankie Morbidelli up ahead of him. You can see the gap that's opened up. They were back there a couple of laps ago. They're now 1.1 seconds apart for 6th and 7th. This is the Honda-led queue from 8th backwards. Zarco and Marini. Gian Antonio take Binder, who's made his way up from 18th to 11th. Bezzecchi making very good progress yet. Here he is in 12th place. And as we always came to expect, Bastianini's on his way forwards from his loaded grid position. He's up to 13.
Costa once again. Back out of that KTM. I said in the sprint yesterday, he's got the talent, he doesn't really have the tools to be. Once again. Costa, he is flagging, kicking and screaming every active performance. Alex, fair play, still in the 159s. Bagnaia and the Costa then tip into the 2-minute laps. From the pair of them, that's only a 10th quicker than Quartararo, who's still somehow keeping Mir at bay in 4th.
They're now 2 seconds off the back of this battle for second. Low 2 minutes. Aldeguer still lapping relatively slowly for what we expected from him pre-race, doing mid 2 minutes. He's now 1.5 seconds. He's not coming under any pressure from the Zarco group behind him, but Aldeguer now in a very lonely P7.
Quartararo aside, who's doing another stellar job. 4th place, Yamaha having a very miserable Malaysian Grand Prix. Nini and Ralph Fernandez, he's dropped back to 15th spot. Jack Miller and Miguel Oliveira are having a bit of an inter-team tussle at Prima Pramac Yamaha, but they're particularly fair. Few seconds further up the road of Somkiat Chantra. Alex Marquez having made that early aggressive move. He's looked super slick at the front of this Grand Prix. And it's been faultless so far. wondering whether Alex Marquez would be fully unleashed once again in 2025. Well, I think we have got our answer.
Bagnaia will be checking his watch at the moment, saying, where is that famed KTM tyre drop? Give me a bit of breathing space and a bit of time off from defending, and looking at where Pedro Acosta is and potentially waiting for that number 37 to come up the inside of him into one of the heavy braking zones. At the moment, Acosta showing no signs of being shaken off, but we're not even at half distance yet. The second half of the race is where KTM will begin to get a little bit nervous about their tyre life.
This is a brutal battle here, further down the field. Just getting fumes in your face. So many times you hear the rides that struggle to even regulate their breathing as Marini runs it a little bit wide. That's going to allow the Gian Antonio to pounce on his fellow Italian. So the Gian Antonio then now up into 9th place. Yeah, I mean, just to try and catch your breath in this battle, raging from Zarco in 8th downwards. This is going to be a real long 10 laps or so for this mid-pack group.
Well, the pace of Alex Marquez has now dropped back into the 2 minutes. He did the fastest lap of the race on lap 2, a 1:58. 2 minutes 2:40, so we're already a second and a half slower than we were at the very beginning of the Grand Prix, and we are still short of half distance.
Secchi on the rear tyre, Binder, who closes in on the factory Honda of Marini. Marini then pushed back down into 10th place. Just out of picture there was Bastianini, who's sort of doing high 200s himself. Yet Marini struggled on that last lap, including running wide at turn 15, which allowed Biggio through. Marini was back in the 201s, which is perhaps a little bit concerning as far as HRC are concerned. He's taking any kind of new stick on Quartararo, who's defending superbly for that top 4.
The rider in front momentarily just to allow your tyre pressure and temperature to go down. Of course, the teams will have been well aware of the challenge that faced them from that point of view and will have set their pressures accordingly. And certainly Cressini will have been keeping a close eye on it with Fermin Aldeguer to make sure that his pressure's within the window. And is that in any way a contributing factor as to why Aldeguer is so slow in this Grand Prix?
Salacious on a Pully which always struggled in these tropical climates 2 or 3 years ago, saying that the heat, when he's in a group like this in these conditions, the heat was so bad he was struggling to breathe because his throat was getting burnt. Such was the extreme heat that it was being put on his body. I mean, those guys in that battle for 8th spot, they might as well just turn a hairdryer on full blast and stick their face in it. That's just how severe these conditions are. Alex, 8/10 of a second once again clear. Bagnaia, fastest rider in that top 3 on the last lap was Acosta, who was doing superbly. Bezzecchi comes from a long way back. Has he got the inside line on Binder? Well, he's got the inside line. I'm not sure it's the right line to attack Binder going through turn 1. Binder was always going to top it out there, wasn't he? He's aggressive as the little South African, and he stands firm and holds on to that 11.
He had the line, but Binder ripped it away from him. Is Mir this time did able to get the move done. Once again, he's sideways on the attack. Quartararo had his own moment, and that might have just given Mir the crucial metre or 2 that he needs. The 2020 world champion is now up into 4th place.
It's an onboard shot that was, as we just saw as Joan Mir set up the move on the climb up into turn 4. This has been coming. Quartararo always feared he was going to suffer with a lack of rear grip, fading rear grip on that factory Yamaha. Are we in the territory of the Grand Prix now, halfway through, where the M1 is just starting to run out of rear tyre. He then gets through. The gap between Quartararo and Morbidelli is only 8/10 of a second.
Ian Race Aldeguer's having, he's now the fastest rider on circuit all of a sudden. Aldeguer just did a 2:00.255 on the last lap. He's quicker even than his teammate. Problem is for me, he's 6.5 seconds adrift.
You can just see Joan Mir's crew chief there, Santi Hernandez, with his clipboard and gripping that pen so tightly, he's almost breaking it in half. He's just almost like, tranquilo, calm, Joan. Such a great opportunity to fight for the podium in blue in the sprint yesterday. On course for 4th place here, having started the overseas tour with a brilliant podium, his first podium on a Honda in Motegi. They were not wanting to be throwing away another big haul of points potentially here in the main Grand Prix. Look how quickly Mir has been able to gap Quartararo behind him. Massive gap already opening up between those two. Bagnaia once again, well, this has been the story of his Grand Prix. He'll be sick of seeing +0 Acosta on his pit when they cross over the line. 0.9 the gap between Alex and Pecco.
So Quartararo, well, was basically battling Mir, but he did do a 2:01.3 last time round, so his pace has dropped off. We'll see on this next lap whether he's been able to respond to that and try and fend off Frankie Morbidelli. Aldeguer once again on that last lap, 2:0.03. Again, one of the fastest riders on the circuit as Fabio Di Gianantonio takes 8th place away from Johann Zarco.
Can't sing the praises enough once again of Acosta. He is just phenomenal. What a talent. What a talent he is on that factory KTM. He is not giving Bagnaia a moment's peace here, is he? In this Grand Prix. We knew he wouldn't do it, of course, but he's still keeping himself in this fight for second place. He's still in this fight for maybe the victory, because we know that there's going to be tyre drop-off significantly into this Grand Prix as Morbidelli now starts to hone in on Quartararo.
Yeah, this is a bit of a familiar sinking feeling for the number 20 as he sinks down the order. He certainly did put up a good fight early on against Mir, but now he's lost that battle. Frankie Morbidelli is gobbling up the distance between the 21 and the 20.
Once again, Acosta closes up on Bagnaia going into first time in this Grand Prix. It has just seen Alex establish a lead of over a second. It's been around 8-9 tenths for so much of this race since he made the early move on Bagnaia at turn 4, but it is over a full second. Don't forget, of course, to vote for your rider at the race back at home. Bagnaia has fought back in the third sector. He's been able to get the gap back down to 9 tenths of a second. Yellow flags are out in sector 3.
Looks right out Miguel Oliveira, who hasn't come through the third sector, so Oliveira has gone down. He was running just outside the points in 18th place. He was in a battle with his teammate, actually, Jack Miller, 17th and 18th. Oliveira next up for him, his final home Grand Prix in Portimao.
Belly is going to be right on the rear tyre very quickly of his former factory Yamaha teammate. In fact, he's just taken it. I can just see on the back that has changed. Morbidelli has picked off Quartararo, then moved up into 5th place. Quartararo is going to be in the 2:02 if he's not careful. Of course, he might have been picked offline by Morbidelli, who made the move through to 5th, but a 2:01.898. Alarm bells should start ringing inside that factory Yamaha garage, because as it looks like at the moment, Quartararo's rear tyre dropping off a cliff.
It was turn 9 by the looks of it. Difficult start from that shot. There's another yellow flag coming out in the first sector. Someone's down in the first couple of corners, but he's the first rider to drop with the rear tyre dropped. Fabio Quartararo. Ralph Fernandez, the Australian Grand Prix winner, has also gone down part way through this lap. There will be no back-to-back victories for the Trackhouse rider.
And that just sums up, doesn't it? The ultimate highs and lows of being a Grand Prix motorcycle racer. 7 days after the biggest high of his Grand Prix career, becoming our 7th different winner in 2025, finally breaking his winning duck in MotoGP. 7 days later, he's crashing out while at the back end of the point scoring places. It must have been a brutal Sepang Grand Prix for Aprilia. Still there, best runner. There is Bezzecchi in 12th place. He has not been able to find a way through on the determined Binder.
Skip is going up 1.25 seconds now for Alex Marquez. So Pecco Bagnaia, if he was saving, well, you might have to start using up a bit of the rubber you've got left if you think you've got a chance of chasing after Alex Marquez. He just cannot shake off Acosta, can he? Doing low 2 minutes, so it's not like Bagnaia is going slowly, but he is losing his grip on a potential double victory now.
But he's worse for Bez. He's just been picked up by Bastianini, his fellow Italian, so Bezzecchi then pushed back down to 13th place. Bezzecchi was the sprint winner, wasn't he, in Mandalika and in Phillip Island. He clearly had the pace to cover off both Grand Prix on those occasions as well, but he has not been at the races. Brilliant, not at the races at all here this weekend in Malaysia. Been a wake-up call for the Nuwali factory. Bagnaia has a look to his right. Over the line we go, 1.4 seconds. That felt like a big lap, didn't it? A massive lap 12 as far as Alex Marquez is concerned, because he was half a second quicker both Bagnaia and Acosta. Well, this is the reason why we did the 2:01.8. I did say that he might have been picked offline by Morbidelli, and well, he was. He certainly was. That was Exhibit A, Frankie Morbidelli aggression.
Well, he really enjoyed his battle with Frankie Morbidelli yesterday. I don't think he enjoyed that one quite so much. Something happened to Aldeguer on that last lap too. So he did the 2:01.4 because he was closing right up on the rear tyre of Quartararo. But a mistake from Aldeguer means that he's got to wait another couple of laps before he catches that Yamaha.
Alex Marquez is riding absolutely beautifully. He is riding immaculately at the front of this Grand Prix, and he has it well covered off, doesn't he? 1.6 seconds he is now clear of Bagnaia. It's got up by another 2 tenths alone in sector 2 on this current lap. Bagnaia is going to be ruining. He's going to be cursing that medium front tyre choice, isn't he? In fact, Acosta might go to the inside here on the brakes in 2.9. It's the move that he's threatened on a few occasions. Fair play. This is a rearguard action that Acosta will be proud of. He's delivered a few of those himself, hasn't he, in recent Grand Prix? He's going to go for the inside line now for 11, and Acosta then finally has retaliated on Bagnaia. Bagnaia just does not have the grip, does he?
He ran out of pace completely. He's already lost half a second on this lap to Alex Marquez, so Acosta didn't have to wait around any longer, had to make the move. Probably too late, though, for Acosta to chase down Alex Marquez, unless Alex has been using too much tyre up in the first half of the race. But the gap between the top two, which is now 73 and 37, is 2 seconds now.
Four riders on the medium having the point scoring places. Everybody else is stuck right down at the back. Pecco Bagnaia, well, all this swaps and maybes, but did he shoot himself in the foot, choosing that medium front tyre because he hasn't got the pace? It's Marquez once again at 2:00.5, nearly 2 seconds he is now clear of Acosta, who has now picked up the baton in second. Look at that, already half a dozen bike lengths to the Acosta. He's going to put between himself and Bagnaia. I love watching Acosta. What a rider, what a rider. Joan Mir in the fourth place, comfortable fourth place. If you can say comfortable with Frankie Morbidelli only 8 tenths of a second behind you.
And catching at the moment, he was a quarter of a second quicker on the last lap was Morbidelli. He wants that fourth place. Of course, he did ultimately finish in the sprint yesterday once Fermin Aldeguer picked up his penalty. The Sunday charge from the 54 has not really materialised, has it? He is closing up on Quartararo, but it's only for 6th and 7th.
See a big moment here for Aldeguer. One of the reasons why he's not picking probably into turn 9. This is going to be front end save, isn't it? He goes through. Fair play, Fermin. That was almost disaster. 24 hours after being crowned Rookie of the Year in 2025. Yeah, no wonder. The Gresini Ducati squad, Nadia Padovani, what a job she has done as figurehead of the Italian-based team. Aldeguer, well, he was almost on his backside there, wasn't he, going through turn 9. Well, now where he's attacking hard on the front end. There's
another one.
Oh, yeah, another one. Well, we saw it, didn't we, in Moto3 earlier on in the back end of the Grand Prix. These slippery conditions and these scorching hot temperatures really are late on seeing riders have massive, massive moments. But we saw some saves of the century in Moto3, and now we're starting to see all the MotoGP riders that are on that tightrope, aren't they, of grip now?
Warming to this at Honda as they're watching these sector times. Mir is coming at Bagnaia on this lap already. He's taken a third of a second out of the Ducati. Whether he's going to run out of time, because we've only got another 6 laps to go after this one. But at the start of this lap, Mir was 3.1 seconds near enough behind Pecco Bagnaia. We're into the final sector now. The gap is already just over 2.5.
Alex Marquez is cruising here. He's cruising. Alex Marquez is doing mid 2:00 as Acosta and Bagnaia back in the 2:01s. Mir also still in the high 2:00s. So too is Morbidelli. Morbidelli is the second fastest rider on circuit. Only Alex, your race leader, is faster than the Italian, who's got a bit of a second wind himself here, hasn't he?
This podium charges on for Joan Mir, no question about it. Half a second a lap, he will catch him in time for the checkered flag of this Grand Prix. So Pecco Bagnaia is clearly losing touch with Acosta. You've not got an easy run to the flag for third place, Pecco. The 2020 world champion is closing.
Bagnaia is going to be a second behind Acosta very, very quickly. Ducati's further down the field, locking horns. It's Aldeguer versus Gian Antonio. This is the battle for 7th and 8th. Battle that we expected Aldeguer to be raging on much, much higher up the field as he runs wide as he going through turn 5 there. It's fair to say that Aldeguer is suffering with that soft front tyre at the moment. He was offline going through 5. We've seen him have a couple of front end washouts going through turn 9. With Lakiayo sent a jack on the grid. Talking about Pedro Acosta's prospects, this is going to be a race of survival. It's starting turning out to be the case as far as Aldeguer is concerned.
That group behind this battle that we're watching, Gian Antonio is right up behind Aldeguer as we're now on board with it. Then it's Sarko, Marini, Bastianini, Binder, Bezzecchi and Agura. They're all together, all the way back to 14th place. But Bezzecchi, his challenge hasn't materialised at all. Another rider probably regretting the choice to go for the medium front tyre today.
Antonio has also got some serious with him at this stage of the Grand Prix. He's doing sub 2:01s as well. And Alex Marquez, well, this has been a class ride, hasn't it? First time he's going to, looks like, we won't put the commentators cursing him, but it looks like it's a formality. He is going to win outside of Spain for the first time in his MotoGP career. There is Quartararo at the moment. Be a great job to get a top 6 here in a circuit. Greasy, slippery conditions, which certainly don't favour the current inline 4-cylinder factory M1 Alex 2.4 seconds then clear now of Acosta, is matching the pace of the race leader. Bagnaia is suffering big time. He lost half a second on that last lap to Alex and Acosta, and that gap between Bagnaia and Mir very, very quickly, that's going to drop down to under 2 seconds.
Yeah, another third of a second to Mir lost last time around, and Mir is bringing Morbidelli along with him for the party too, so Frankie Morbidelli might yet still get involved in that podium battle. He's going to need some more drop-off from Bagnaia, who's just going to try and manage as best as he can in the final 5 laps. That Ducati must feel horrible to ride as the grip continues to just ebb away from those tyres, but everyone is in the same boat, Pecco.
Marquez put the icing on the cake yesterday in the sprint, securing second in the World Championship. Well, today's Grand Prix victory will just be the cherry on the top, won't it, as Bagnaia is just running out of pace here. Really is struggling. He was that early leader from pole position, and he's got some serious trouble building behind him here, because this is not a given. He's going to hang on to this podium. 4.5 laps remaining. You can just see there in the background, going through turn 9 was both Mir and Morbidelli. Those two once again 3 tenths quicker than Bagnaia. Morbidelli's just going to run out of time maybe to try and get on par with Mir and offer anything for the Honda rider.
Backing into the top 10 now. He's just passed Luca Marini, which means Bagnaia is now the only rider in the top 10 in the race on the medium front tyre. Everyone else with the soft run is enjoying their afternoon much more than the 2-time world champion is at the moment. Bagnaia has been able to stabilise the situation somewhat on this current 16th lap of 20. The gap hasn't come down to this point. It's still hovering just under 2 seconds. So is Bagnaia just about managing to get this tyre to the end in some sort of shape? Is he starting to get on top of the problem?
Is it the medium front are his issues? He just hasn't been able to get the soft rear tyre working well. We'll find out after the Grand Prix. Marini goes on the inside of Zarco, albeit very, very briefly, as they'll go side by side on the exit of turn 50. What a battle this has been. It's now in the hands of Bastianini. Over the line, this pack go. Bastianini in 9th, which is where he finished the sprint yesterday. He goes sideways, lock to lock on the front end of the KTM into turn 1. Behind him now is Zarco, Marini, Binder and Bezzecchi. Agura also in this battle, so just over 1.2 seconds, covering 9th down to 14th.
Some points, crucial points up for grabs, and Bezzecchi kind of needs every point that he can get. Even if Bagnaia is struggling at the moment up in 3rd place and fading away from the top 2, he is still pulling out some crucial points on Bezzecchi for 3rd in the World Championship, and is kicking off in this group further back. Bagnaia at the moment would be pulling out 13 points over Bezzecchi for 3rd in the World Championship.
They should have this on the kill. It's easy to sort of criticise Bagnaia and go, well, why did he go for that medium front tyre? He would have said, well, in the hottest conditions of the weekend, that was the only way that he felt that maybe he was going to have the support in braking late on in the Grand Prix. He would have his reasons, and we'll understand his reasons for why it didn't work out post the Grand Prix shortly. Bezzecchi trying to find a move once again through on Binder. Those two have had some close calls already in this battle further down the field.
Just seen from the onboard of Bezzecchi when he closed up under braking behind Binder, and just how much that soft rear tyre is wearing away for Binder, and he'll be in the same boat as everyone else in this race. Every rider is on the soft rear tyre. Bagnaia's advantage over Mir, 1.7 seconds through the 3rd sector, so he's not losing enough at the moment for Mir to catch him in time for the checkered flag.
Aldeguer's just started to pinch a little bit of time back on Tararo in their battle for 6th place. That's come down to just over 4 tenths of a second in favour of Quartararo at the moment. On board then with Bezzecchi up into 6th gear in excess of 300 kilometres an hour before he drops anchor. Somebody's gone down in the final section. Who's down the road to the final corner?
Aldeguer.
Oh, it's Aldeguer. Well, this, I have to say, is, well, it has been coming. He's had some big, big scares, hasn't he, on the front end of that Ducati. It looked like, I guess it was just to the point where that gap, I just said he was pinching time back on Quartararo in the race for 6. Unfortunately, not pinched too much time back, tail braking into turn 15. We've seen that crash happen so many times down the years, and just with the front grip fading, Aldeguer crashes out. Still be, oh, Bagnaia's gone in really hot into turn 4. He's got a problem. What's going on here?
Yeah, he's breathing.
Yeah, there's something happening to Bagnaia. He looks down to his left-hand side. So Pecco Bagnaia's Malaysian Grand Prix is over. Well, it wasn't going to be a dominant dream double here in Malaysia anyway for the number 63. But when he was looking like in a safe and secure 3rd place, Pecco Bagnaia, with 3 laps remaining here in Sepang, is down and out.
Mir up into third place then. Morbidelli to fourth. Quattro to eighth. Having a good look down at the left-hand side of the bike. Let's ride on board and have a listen.
It's running.
It's still running.
Yeah, the engine is running. What has happened here to Pecco Bagnaia? Look at the bearing, look at the swing arm.
There's no sign of delamination on that tyre either for Bagnaia, but he's clearly concerned by something at the rear of his bike. And Bagnaia, with a shake of the head, all of a sudden talks about him gaining points on Marco Bezzecchi. As it is now, Bezzecchi will regain third once again in the World Championship.
So only a few moments ago, was it actually the medium front that was his problem? Was it actually the softer rear that was causing him such a headache in this Grand Prix? Well, we're going to find out, because that has turned into a disaster, hasn't it, for Pecco Bagnaia. 3 laps from home, and he's going to have to cruise back to the pit lane. Of course, out of all that lane drama, this has pushed Mir onto the podium place, and he's 1.4 seconds clear of Morbidelli. So an overseas tour which started with a podium in Japan for Joan Mir. Looks like he will finish with a podium here in Sepang for Mir. This will be some bounce back as well after his disappointment in the sprint yesterday.
And this is now a battle for 8th place between Marini, Zarco, Binder, Bezzecchi and Agura. And Marini still leading it. Momentarily Bezzecchi got himself into the top 10, but he's been repassed by Brad Binder once again. They're all back in the 2:03s now in this group. That's how much they're all struggling with their tyres. They'll be hoping these 2 laps click off quickly.
Yeah, some of this lot will be dealing with some real issues with the front tyre. And Binder now goes on the inside of Zarco into turn 4. There's just no way you can be this deep into the Grand Prix, but when you've been in such a big battle as well, that you're not having to be really cautious on that front end. We saw Aldeguer get caught out.
Zarco's struggling big time. Look at the gap that's opened up already ahead of him with Binder going through. Binder's disappeared off the top of the road. Bezzecchi's now going to come through. Bagnaia into the pits. He is out of this Grand Prix. And Johan Zarco's gone from the front of this queue all the way to the back in half a lap.
Late drama and late heartache then for Pecco Bagnaia, who was on course for a double podium here in Sepang. He immediately comes into the factory, the Ducati garage. Immediately up go the shutters. They're not going to give any indication as to what has caused the early retirement, the premature end to Bagnaia's Grand Prix. Oh, that is frustrating. That is really, really deflating, isn't it, as far as Bagnaia is concerned. Joan Mir then up into P3. Looks like he's got Morbidelli well and truly covered up. Yeah, he's still that 1.4 seconds ahead of the Italian in third place. Morbidelli's got no trouble behind him. Almost 2 seconds down the road.
Guaro taking to get Antonio at the moment. He's a second and a quarter clear. Alex Marquez has now started the final lap of this Grand Prix. Difficult to imagine the weekend getting much better for Alex Marquez after he secured runner-up in the World Championship yesterday, but it is about to get that little bit better.
It really is. He felt like he said himself, with the pressure eased, having tried to secure second in the World Championship. That was job done, completed here yesterday. And Alex, minus any kind of pressure, free to just attack, and he's been brilliant in this Malaysian Grand Prix. As Agura goes on the inside of Bezzecchi here. It's been a real strong late rally by Agura. He's now up into the top 10.
And he's now the top Aprilia in this race. Binder, of course, making that move on Zarco, who does have a little bit of an advantage up the road, so he shouldn't be caught. Alex Marquez, who can't be caught, but second in the World Championship. That's the damage that's been done to Bagnaia's third place in the championship. Bezzecchi, even with 11th place, does go back ahead of his fellow Italian. But Alex Marquez, who's taken 2 victories on Spanish soil already this season. The memorable first victory in Jerez, followed by a home win in Barcelona. After a sprint win here 2 years ago, he's about to triumph in Malaysia.
Pedro Acosta has ridden absolutely superbly once again. He is going to muscle and wrestle that KTM to yet another podium here. Joan Mir in a safe third place. Bastianini is going to rescue 7th, another top 10 from way down the grid, a 19th spot. But Alex then now drops down the hill through turns 12 and 13. This has been a brilliant performance, hasn't it, by Alex. No danger of him being caught late on here. 3 seconds clear of Acosta. Santi Hernandez, Joan Mir's HRC Fuji looks on me is going to keep hold of this third place surely later, although Morbidelli's only 6 tenths of a second further back. At the final corner though goes Alex Marquez. And Alex Marquez has sprinkled some magic on the Malaysian Grand Prix. In 2025, he wins for the third time in a season which has seen him secure second place in the championship behind for the mark. Pedro Acosta does take a stunning second. Another giant killing out by Acosta on the KTM to take second spot behind Alex. Juan Mir on the factory Honda does hold off Morbidelli to take another podium for Honda. That's 2 Mir and Honda podiums in 4 Grand Prix here in Malaysia and in Japan. Morbidelli is 4th, Quartararo inside the top 5. Gian Antonio rounds out your top 6. Bastianini from 19th to 7th. Marini, Binder, Agur in your top 10. Bezzecchi was only 11th from 14. Points for Zarco, Rins, Miller and Gantra. Late hard take though. What a race that was. It's Alex Marquez who has taken the victory in commanding fashion. Dominant performance by Alex. Acosta then is indeed second, equaling his best ever MotoGP result. And Pecco Bagnaia, he looked nailed on, didn't he, for third place, but late withdrawal, some clear late technical issue coming the way of Bagnaia. Was it time? Was it something else? Was there a warning light that came up on his dash? He was clearly looking, wasn't he, down to the rear part of that Ducati GP25. Bagniaia's late disappointment is nothing but joy for Juan Mir, who takes the final spot on the podium.
This is Bagnaia already. He's already looking down there, coming through turn 3. And jumps out of the way of Juan Mir, so third had already gone, even before we saw him into picture in turn 4. I'm trying to have a really good look at that rear side. Yeah, silly. He's felt something, no question about that, and Billy felt something that was serious enough for Bagnaia to slow right. To begin at Grassini.
Bagnaia. That's from the end of the Grand Prix. Yeah, he was good at losing. Spanish podium lockout, a Ducati team leading over KTM, leading over Honda. More success in what has already been a rip-snorting successful season as far as BK8 Brazil racing are concerned. Second the World Championship for Alex, top independent team rider. They're now the best independent team. Aldeguer was the Rookie of the Year yesterday, although his Sunday went a bit pear-shaped, didn't it? Matched out of top 6 contention. It's Marquez. Oh, superb, absolutely brilliant. Despite all the pre-race concern about a tech issue on the grid, there was no issue today for Alex Marquez as he wins the Malaysia Grand Prix. Let's get the thoughts of Michele Rossini with Jim.
Michele, what a brilliant ride from Alex. It's not been an easy weekend. 2 crashes on Friday. He's had to overcome a lot, but second in the World Championship and now race victor today. Congrats.
Thank you very much, but first of all, I want to pay some respect for the Moto3 guys at the moment. So we need to celebrate in the proper, respectful way, and to say that an amazing race. We know the potential of Alex here, and today was the day to take the big points, and yes, he made it very well.
Great job, well done.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Jack. Thanks to Michele Rossini. Thankfully, Alex Marquez didn't fuck as often as Michele's voice down there in Park Ferme. For the Rossini racing team. What a performance, what a ride once again by Pedro Acosta. Well, that's another giant killing act as far as he's concerned. In that KTM in 2 places that no other rider can do at the moment. It was 7th over the line, which is pretty respectable, going from 19th on the grid. East was 13 seconds behind Acosta. Javier Quartararo, I think he's going to be, when all's said and done, after what at times has been quite a tricky weekend here in Sepang for the factory Yamahas, to come home in 5th place shows all of his fighting qualities, shows all of his fighting spirit. All he and Acosta need is a more competitive motorcycle underneath it, because title contenders on competitive motorcycles, Acosta and Quartararo, no question, are title contenders. He gets a bit of more Morbidelli medicine there at turn 15.
The second time in 24.5 hours. He certainly enjoyed this Malaysia Grand Prix. He worked hard for that. There is no question that Fabio Quartararo is an elite MotoGP rider. Just give him the equipment and watch him go. 5th place for him today. 4 points now. He's behind Fermin Aldeguer for 4th in the World Championship after Aldeguer crashed out.
Race between Mania Padovani, Rosini Boss, Michele Massini there. You can just see giving the ice vest to Alex Marquez after what would have felt like 20 very long laps. The button there, just giving a very richly deserved pat on the back for Pedro Acosta. Yesterday on the soft rear tyre, he was actually worried about the fact that he was in real trouble. A second in Crix back ahead of Bagnaia in the battle for 3rd place, and Pedro Acosta's hopes are still being 3rd in the championship. But one true line, he's only 31 points drift, isn't he? Bez in 3rd place. Joan Mir then starts and finishes our flyaway tour with a podium. Let's get his thoughts with Jack.
Joan, you let all of the frustration of yesterday fuel you on. 2 podiums during our Asian leg. Who to say, both yourself and Honda are back in it.
Yeah, this is just when you push and you give the 100% always, and you never give up. You know, many times you make some interviews, and someday I didn't know what to say, no? And that moment make this one super special. So I'm so happy. Thank you to the team, because I never give up, but they never give up too. So thank you for them, and yeah, we are a lot closer to the main goal, that is to point a little bit more up. But like this now is fantastic.
Great ride, well done.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was a top performance once again by Joan Mir, who has never stopped believing in himself. He's never stopped believing in Honda as well. And most importantly, hard work is really starting to bear some fruit, isn't it? And now, as far as the RC213V rider is concerned, podium in Japan, and all the disappointment of crashing out in podium contention the sprint yesterday. That's how you make amends. That shows what a quality rider Joan Mir is. Than he was at the checkered flag. Looking forward to hearing the thoughts of Pedro Acosta. He's got a big smile on his face. It was just once again pure class. Nothing shy of pure class from the KTM star. Let's get the thoughts of Acosta with Jack.
Well, Pedro, after all of KTM's tyre woes after recent weeks, how on earth did you get that soft to the end of the race? You would not let Echo go and eventually got the better of.
Well, I just wait my moment, you know, at the end. Alex was super fast from the beginning, he was super aggressive. And today I was super pissed off at the warm-up because we had something in the bike and was no power out this last 2 corners, and I was losing a lot, and I said, guys, if I fuck up, minimum that have to be myself, you know, for this. Remove all the controls and we go racing, you know, for this. It was super cool. Guys, thanks. All my crew, because they make super great job. Everyone that is watching from home. Miguel Aneva from Fortuna Motorsport. Adri, my coach. Mar Ruira, my new physical trainer. And all that is supporting me from home. Even my dad that he was calling me, but we don't have signal. And also I want to send a last message. Thanks for Danny and Paul to be here, minimum Paul and Danny in TV, trying to give us this small of experience that they have more than us. And also I want to send a message and a big tag for Ado Silva, his wife Telo, and also Randy that is over there, because we know how hard can be sometimes the sport, even if we love it. For this buddy, can you kisses and all the song of the world. Good job, well done everybody.
Phenomenal ride that by Pedro Acosta. Just a very quick apology, because we have to, for his language in that interview there with Jack. This was a move that he made, brilliant move on Bagnaia. Much clearly it affected Bagnaia big time, didn't he? The puncher. It's obviously why he was really struggling. I wonder at what point of the race was it when he realised that he was having some major issues, maybe in the build-up. He felt a bit of a strange feeling through laps before he pulled to the side of the track, going through turn 3. Pedro Acosta had to work very hard for that 2nd place. It is his 9th MotoGP podium. His last 9 finished now, being top 5s. HM have got a start in the books. They've got to try and keep him up there 2026 and beyond. But Alex Marquez, what a weekend it has been for Alex. Second in the World Championship secured, and his 3rd win of the season in some style here in Sepang. He's with Jack.
Like second in the World Championship and now the Malaysian Grand Prix winner. Have you had many better weekends than this?
Well, yeah, better, yes. Our feelings was not an easy weekend for us. I mean, we started suffering a lot, suffering through crashes on Friday, and later on, you know, the feeling was not really perfect. But today, the strategy was clever. It was that strategy was the winner one. So it was really clever on that point to make the move and to be aggressive on that moment of the race, because I saw it that was, and I know that was the key. I lose one race here 2 years ago to not overtook Enea in the beginning and just waiting too much, so I decided to go for it, and yeah, really happy. It's a really important win for us to celebrate this, but I mean, my prayers, my thoughts with the Moto3 guys, still there in the stomach, have some feeling, so just prayers for them.
Well said.
Alex Marquez has been voted by fans at home the rider of the race. He's a class rider, Alex, isn't he? He's a class gentleman as well. And his thoughts at the end of that interview with Jack, the sentiments that are echoed by the entire motorsport community, as we need to send our best to Jose Antonio Rueda and Noah Deckwheeler, injured in a cycle lap incident. Moto3. Out of the final corner though goes Alex Marquez, victorious in MotoGP for the 3rd time in his career. Sprint here a couple of years ago, and he has got a Malaysian Grand Prix victory now on the CV as well. Bit of a mixed day, a mixed bag to say the least for Gresini Ducati. Thought Fermin Aldeguer was going to be one of the main challengers in that Grand Prix as well. Unfortunately, he crashed out of top 6 contention late on at turn 15. This part for Mayfield should really, with the greatest respect to Mira, featured Pecco Bagnaia. What looked like maybe a puncture issue, a slow puncture was it? Denied Bagnaia a 3rd place. He denied him a 2nd place. Was he contending with a lot of issues in the build-up to his eventual retirement? What it has done, once again, it's cost Bagnaia 3rd overall in the standings, and Pedro Acosta is only 31 points behind Marco Bezzecchi in 3rd place. And it's a big ask. It's a tough challenge to overhaul Bez for 3rd in Portimao and Valencia. Acosta to 5th. 5 points is the gap between Bez and Bagnaia.
Another look at Pecco Bagnaia, recognising the problem into turn 3. We're trying to have a very good look at that rear tyre to try and see any signs of a puncture. As mentioned, it was clearly serious enough for Pecco Bagnaia that he couldn't carry any kind of lean angle or speed into corners and slowed right down. Having a good look over at the rear tyre, and it would appear on the way out of turn 2. Well, already into turn 1, look, he's already going straight on.
The fact that he was looking to his left and to his right, and that obviously he was not really aware of what the issue was himself, or whether it was on the left or was it an issue with the right side of the tyre. I think it's a puncture.
They'll be certainly doing the post-mortem and the investigation down at Ducati.
Looks like a puncture.
It looks a little flat.
It's moved a bit flat right now, that's for
Pecco
sure.
Bagnaia's Malaysian Grand Prix move 2. Whatever the cause, the end result is no points this afternoon for Pecco Bagnaia. We'll pause and listen to our top three.
Como el mío de Japón, que veía todo ver.
Blister, quizás, ¿no?
Digo, Dios, allá de la Face.
¿Eh? Es que yo, a mí un momento que he visto que se ha colado en la 1.
Estoy contigo en la 4.
Y luego se ha vuelto a colar y yo decía, a ver si me está dejando pasar por lo de las presiones. Vale.
No, se ha parado, no sé. Sí. Creo que...
A ver.
Lucas.
También se ha caído.
Lucas. Adelante.
Sí, a la luz de la silla. Caminaba, alojaba a alguien. Iba a séptimo así todo el rato y ya luego cuando...
¿Cómo caían los tiempos? Flipa, ¿eh?
veía que no me pillaban, digo, bueno.
No se puede
¿Habéis
ir.
luchado, no? ¿Un poco vosotros?
Sí, al principio.
Vale.
Le he adelantado aquí, creo que le he adelantado en otro sitio. Ya, esto cuando me queda mucho tiempo detrás.
El mío se ha quedado. O sea que hoy...
Aquí ya levantabas y...
Me acuerdo de eso. ¿Ha parado a él? Es que le he visto
No,
en la tele
la
grande.
La recta suya. Más como a otra.
Sí.
Cambiando. Sabía de qué hacer al final.
Yo lo he quitado, el vídeo,
y
ya
luego
lo he quitado. Podio. Podio no, cabrón. Victoria ahí.
Bueno, ya, pero para casita.
Por la mano. Podio nosotros ahí celebrando como victoria, pero tú, tío, lo has ganado, cabrón.
Bueno, hay que celebrarlo aquí. No sabes cuándo se acaba lo bueno. Hombre, aquí de golpe se acaba.
Sí, hombre. Luego, ahora no podrán.
So the top three have started their process of the 2025 Malaysian Grand Prix. As HRC's Romano Albiciano, tech guru, now leading development of the RC213V. It's ready to mark another podium for Joan Mir. They've been few and far between, haven't they, as far as Hondas go. Alex Marquez, then Pedro Acosta and Joan Mir to come to the podium of Spanish lockout of the top three.
One would expect the podium celebrations to be relatively muted given the events of the day. Reiterate as we said throughout the day, if you've been with us through this afternoon's broadcast, thank you for your company. Any official information that we receive on the condition of the two Moto3 riders involved early on today, Jose Antonio Rueda and Noah Detvila. If we do receive any official update, we will bring it to you. And in terms of the MotoGP action today, celebrations will begin for Alex Marquez, Pedro Acosta and Joan Mir. The Ducati squad to watch someone else do the winning. Last time out, Carlo Mellini from Ducati, who will accept the winning constructor prize. What a weekend to be for Gresini. And well, Joan Mir could well have been on the podium yesterday, let's be fair. But we not crashed at turn 9. Open today. That's the block yesterday, turning back in his favour today. Another class ride from Acosta. His fifth. And the rider who's secured second place in the World Championship will take the top prize today. Alex Marquez claims his third victory of 2025. And with Marc Marquez sure watching back home in Spain yesterday, absolutely thrilled with the success of his brother this afternoon. Congratulations to Gresini then, and to Ducati. Gresini, the top independent team in 2025, that has been confirmed today. Third place then for Joan Mir, in the MotoGP podium number 15 of the season. Second in 4 Grand Prix, but Honda's signs of tangible progress continue. Mir was quite grateful to see the checkered flag. In truth, he was only half a second ahead of Frankie Morbidelli at the finish, having lost a second to him on the final lap. Second place goes to Pedro Acosta. It's another podium to his tally, his 4th of the season. Certainly muscled that KTM around today. Alex Marquez, second in the World Championship, second in the sprint yesterday. After winning that early arm wrestle with Pecco Bagnaia, never came under any serious threat. The Deputy Prime Minister of Malaysia does the honours. Alex Marquez completes a dream weekend for him with Malaysian Grand Prix victory.
The top three then at the end of the Grand Prix of Malaysia in 2025, just as we saw in the earlier Moto3 race. Some respectfully muted and subdued post-race celebrations here by the top three. Marquez, what a performance, what a season it has been for Alex, the 29-year-old. So many occasions has stepped out of the shadow for the mark in a 2025 campaign, but he has quite rightly secured that second place in the World Championship. More podium success for KTM and Pedro Acosta. Mir confirming once again that this Honda rival is well and truly up and running, isn't it? Well, after our Asia Oceania swing at the end of the season, we head back to Europe, to the Iberian Peninsula, the penultimate round of 2025, Qatar Airways Grand Prix of Portugal, from the roller coaster, the Algarve International Circuit, at the stunning Portimao.
Marquez wins the Malaysian Grand Prix from Pedro Acosta and Juan Mir. Frankie Morbidelli fourth. Fine right from Fabio Quartararo to hang on to fifth ahead of Fabio Di Gianantonio, and then Air Bastianini all the way through from 19th to 7th. Luca Marini 8th. He was another rider to go for the medium front tyre, but not necessarily enjoying its feeling. Brett Binder 9th ahead of Ayagura, who was the top of Pretty at home in 10th. Marco Bezzecchi only 11th, but those 5 points proving very useful for him. Johan Zarco, his pace fell off a cliff later on to 12th. Alex Reed's 13th. And Jack Miller and Solskjaer Chancellor taking the final points. Pecco Bagnaia and Fermin Albuquerque, two of the three race favourites, failing to score. So the top two positions are locked in the World Championship. Marco Bezzecchi regains third place today over Pecco Bagnaia, despite finishing down in 11th place. Change of position two involving the VR40 Ducati riders as Frankie Morbidelli leapfrogs his teammate Fabio Di Gianantonio for 6th. The course constructors champions as they return to Grand Prix winning ways today. The brilliant advantage though over KTM for second has been cut to 30 points. Standing to Capilanovo, course champions. Grassini safe in second place. The VR46 are 60 points clear of KTM for third. Independent rider standings. Alex Marquez, of course, is your top independent rider of the season. As in the main standings, Frankie Morbidelli, he now takes second place ahead of Fabio Di Gianantonio. Independent team standings. Grassini, of course, confirmed today as your top independent team.